A poem about cicadas turns out to be politically sensitive. The author was forced to apologize. The poem allegedly insinuates Xi Jinping, the Chinese leader. However, nothing in the poem openly suggests so. What gives? I'll break down how a poem about cicada and summer heat turns out to be the biggest political joke since the Soviet Union. I also speak with Lord David Alton from the British House of Lords. He tells me what drives him to fight for human rights, him being sanctioned by China, and much more, including his message to the people watching. All that and more coming up. Welcome to China Insider. I'm David Zhang. Remember cicadas, the so-called meat replacement delicacy celebrated in the United States? Well, the other end happened in China. No celebrations. An online poem expressing frustration towards cicadas in the summertime caused an internet firestorm in China. The allegedly doggerel poem, a type of comedic writing style, is being interpreted as a Soviet China joke, and the author is being forced to apologize because it is considered to be insinuating the supreme leader. This comes as one app added 560 new terms that has to do with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. The internet political sensitivity in China at an all-time high. Another user's comment using lyrics in a new pop song has also caused trouble, prompting to people make the comparison to the Soviet-era joke. This goes something like, this man handing out leaflets on Red Square in Russia and the KGB arrests him. But when they get him to the station, they find that the leaflets are all blank. And he says, well, everyone knows what the problem is, so why bother writing it down? How does it exactly reflect on the poem and cicadas and all that has caused him to have to publicly apologize for his so-called insensitivity to the political situation? Well, here is the screenshot of the now deleted poem. Author Xuan Keling works as a reporter and editor for a Shanghai newspaper. Now let's break it down line by line. Here's my translation of the poem. It reads, shut up, talking about you, up there so high, sound of noise. Adding to the heat, think you're smart, fat head, big ears, from the dirt, dormant for 5 years. Crawled out of hell, only using your butt, singing and praising, blind to summer pain. When I first heard it, I had no idea this was referring to Chinese leader Xi Jinping. How can cicadas equal Xi Jinping? Well, it turns out you just needed Sherlock Holmes level detective skills or just be a regular Chinese internet user to figure out that the meanings could be alluding Xi Jinping. First, the line that says fat head, big ears can be interpreted as an insult to the looks of Xi, as he has also been called Winnie the Pooh. Then the line for 5 years refers to the single term duration of a Chinese leader. In this case, could be that Xi's term limit is up, but he refuses to give up the power position and will fight for a third and a fourth term in power. And the first 3 lines here, if we read it together, shut up, talking about you, up there so high, is insinuating the top political position too, considering the words from Xi are supposedly the most read in China, the most heard, hence he talks a lot. Finally, the ending portion of crawled out of hell, only using your butt, singing and praising, blind to summer pain, is really criticizing the talking out of your butt aspect of the Chinese leader, and that he is so disconnected from reality, blind to the pain of the moment in the heat, talking from his rear end and praising himself only. Thus, a poem about cicadas, the cherished delicacy, is now a political no-no in China. So what happened to the author of this poem? Allegedly, his company, the news agency, scolded him internally, and then he also issued an apology, citing insensitivity to the issue, that he acted on emotions and was not aware of the situation. His account was still suspended even after he deleted the post 30 minutes after posting it, but screenshots of the poem had already circulated online. It still begs the question as to how this and the Soviet joke about the blank piece of paper and a cicada poem can achieve the same effect, telling us what we already know in our hearts without saying it out loud. Now, this is how sensitive the Chinese web is today, where any insinuation of the top leader is a crime, and some on the internet poked fun at it saying, quote, oh no, the cicada emperor is mad. That joke President Reagan always tells.
The story was an American and a Russian arguing about their two countries, and the American said, look, in my country, I can walk into the Oval Office, I can pound the president's desk and say, Mr. President, I don't like the way you're running our country. And the Russian said, I can do that. The American said, you can? He says, yes. I can go into the Kremlin, to the General Secretary's office, pound his desk and say, Mr. General Secretary, I don't like the way President Reagan's running his country.
This is the exact same thing. Do you see? And don't even think about walking into Zhongnanhai, which is the palace of the communist leader in Beijing, and pounding on their desks and saying, I don't like the way you're running this country. You will be in a black jail within 5 minutes. The Chinese people have sadly been conditioned to self-censorship, and they know the worst outcomes are to come from criticizing the regime. Those who learn to circumvent by using illusory terms like this poem are still caught because the internet space is becoming increasingly sensitive, as if there's an ever-growing machine learning about all of the terms that are apparently associated with Xi Jinping and whatever political sensitivity there are. Just to give you an example, a popular app on Chinese web called Little Red Book, which is kind of like Pinterest, within 2 months' time added 560 terms that are deemed sensitive and relative to Xi Jinping. These terms include phrases like Winnie the Pooh writing history and soul-sucking jar, which is a homophone to the Chinese characters of Xi Jinping, meaning that they sound the same in Chinese but mean different things. Even terms like the people's leader, swimming 1,000 meters, and dumplings are banned too when you're discussing Xi Jinping. It takes some next-level brain power to figure out these. I mean, terms like Adolf Hitler, Kim Ji-hoon, or Tiananmen Square's legal successor and unlimited term limits seems to be rather making sense as to terms that are bashing him. But the other terms, which I really couldn't figure out, seems to be that you had to be, again, a Chinese web user to figure that one out, or be Sherlock Holmes. So the Little Red Book app is very popular in China, but terms related to Xi aren't the only ones getting censored. So in the June 4th, 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre, as well as anything related to Hong Kong democracy movement or the protests, terms like 64, tanks, and the square are all censored as well. Pretty common. Meanwhile, a photo like this can also not escape the policing either. Now imagine if we lived in an environment where you couldn't criticize Trump or Biden. Now thinking about me sitting here telling you these things, if I was living in China today after this broadcast, well, you wouldn't see me on TV anymore. Or I would be on TV but making a TV confession, or be in a concentration camp. So in response to the reporter in trouble for writing the poem, many Chinese netizens left comments saying, quote, "It's a season of magic." Some netizens were also upset for Xu Gegui, who says, well, it's the season of noise and you're scalding cicadas. Zhang Ming, who is a professor in the Department of Political Science at the School of International Relations of Renmin University, or People's University of China, lamented the incident and said in a Weibo post, quote, "After living most of my life teaching history, I've never heard of a case where scalding cicadas has to write a review." A lot of the people online also expressed that they or their family didn't understand the poem was about Xi Jinping until it was deleted, like myself. And then they were like, oh yeah, that poem's definitely about you. I mean, you deleted it yourself and kind of made it about you, right? So we also said that this poet is not the only person who was doing the valiant work of trying to attack cicadas and getting the post online removed. Another comment online used the lyrics from Jay Chou, who is a Taiwanese singer, and his new song to criticize Xi Jinping as well. And this one is even more apparent. So Jay Chou's new song is titled "The Greatest Works of Art." And in the song, the lyrics talks about him traveling to Paris to see the greatest art pieces of the time, like the Scream, Van Gogh's Starry Night, Dali's Mustache, and etc. Internet users use the song to quote-unquote inspire their thoughts on Xi, who is touted as the greatest work of art of all time, and this internet user allegedly scolded Jay Chou, quote, "Listen to the new Jay Chou song, I can only say, buddy, people who reach a certain age should have the decency to retire. So you also save face and everyone is also happy, right?" The netizen also said, "Buddy, you're sticking around too long. Every now and then you create some bad stuff. You're narcissistic and arrogant to think you've done quite well. At the beginning, people may entertain you, but now you see everyone scalding you both inside and outside." Once again, even though this person is only technically scalding Jay Chou, the singer, for being washed out, but his account was banned and the comment got removed as well, once again, for insinuating the top leader. The poem about cicadas and the song reference are a reflection of the social atmosphere in China. This is clear even to officials at all levels. The idea that people automatically turn on the association mode and their own internal policing system to recognize this against certain words that are suspected of insinuation, this social atmosphere is only 8 to 10 steps away from the extreme cultural revolution and the literacy hell that it went through. where any single word spoken or misspoken or written can be used to throw you in jail or worse. Therefore, for those people inside and outside the system who are now pushing for the creation of the internet prison system, the Chinese firewall, and anything to do with policing of speech, they're in fact ignorantly digging their grave for themselves too. Because today they're framing the people for crimes that they've committed, and then tomorrow they become the one who are the criminals themselves. And all of this has been fully interpreted by the Cultural Revolution in the past. That was for a full decade, and nothing is new but a repeat of the past. And thank you so much for watching today. This is China Insider. I'm David Zhang. We'll see you next time.